to order this meeting, November 27th, 2013, and time to rise for old Canada. I'll ask the director to do a roll call.
Trustee Buckland.
Here.
Trustee Carkner.
Present.
Trustee Garrow.
Present.
Trustee McPherson.
Present.
Trustee McAllister.
Present.
Vice Chair McDonald.
Present.
Vice Chair McMillan.
Present.
Trustee McRae.
Present.
Chair Petersma.
Present.
Trustee Richards.
Present.
Trustee Swan.
Present.
And Student Trustee Tyler Harpers.
Thank you very much. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda items. November 27th, 2000. Okay. Trustee McDonald, seconded by, Trustee McAllister. Trustee Buckland, can you see things online there?
I've got the agenda, but I don't see any voting potential.
Okay, I assume you're in favor?
Yeah.
Thank you. Trustee Cartner, you okay?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you very much. Pardon me? Bill, are you in favor? Okay, moving on. Any conflict of interest? Okay, seeing there are none, we have a motion to move into committee of the whole. Trustee Carkner, Trustee McRae, thank you so much. Okay, the first discussion item, action item that we have is Lombardy Public Schools Success Plan presentation. We're going to ask in a moment Principal Chris Hawthorne to come up. This was initiated from the accountability framework, and we have been asking the director to have the schools come and report to us in terms of what they are doing in connection to the strategic plan, and specifically to our critical success factors under communication, resources, education program, and wellness. So, Director, do you want to make any comments before we, okay?
Chris, come on, welcome to the microphone. Principal Hawthorne has joined us from Lombardy, and thank you for, as many have been online, you really had to be here because this was your show, and Chris, thank you for coming down from Perth, and thank you for your leadership at Lombardy. I know that you've been at this now for quite a time, working with Victoria and I believe Susan and Val, and bringing it to the Strategic Council, and being the first. It will be, it'll set a bar for many, but more importantly, I guess as we've learned around here, sometimes it's good to go first because maybe a couple people around the table might be gentle, but I can't guarantee all that. The fact is, we appreciate your leadership, we appreciate your attention to detail. We appreciate, as the trustees will see this report, that you've accepted the role as Chief Educational Officer at your school. and that the most important issue at your school are the students and community receiving the best possible education from our board and from our district and things that we think are important. And from my perspective, going through your work and following closely, you yourself are a fine example, a model of our character education program, and I think the trustees are going to get a real opportunity to take a real close look at what you stand for, at what is very important in your school, and I guess most of all, how the students are doing at Lombardy Public School, way up there, just at the tip of between Lanark and Leeds and Grenville. Welcome.
And Chris, just before you begin, two things. Number one, Lisa Raymond went to this school, so she's very proud and just dying to hear about Lombardy. She went there until about grade 5 or grade 6, so you're really exciting, percolating right now. And secondly, as you were listening to the presentation, I want the trustees to think about how they can formulate comments and questions around the critical success factors. You'll notice that there are two reports. There's an audit report, and then there's the PowerPoint presentation that Principal Hawthorne will go through. The audit report is for our benefit to take a good look at it, but that's really dealing with day-to-day and management issues. If we can tailor our questions to the presentation and to the strategic goals or the strategic plan and our critical success factors, that will be wonderful. So I pass that over to you now.
Thank you, Chair, and Chair, through you, I have been asked to come tonight to present to you folks on the current state of Lombardy, as well as our desired state. As well, I'd like to outline some of the steps we'd like to take in getting to our goals, and as well to outline some of the potential challenges that we foresee as we go forward. And that will constitute the majority of my presentation this evening. I thought that it might be a nice thing to start off just with a little bit of school demographics for you this evening, just to give you a sense of where Lombardy is and who we are. We are located just south of Smith Falls on Highway 15. Smith Falls Family of Schools is our family of schools. We are considered a rural country school, but that being said, we're a rather large school. We have 289 students at our school, so by our standards, certainly not a small school. We are a FDK to grade 8 school, so we have the full range. And we have a single track school in terms of the French program. We offer a core French program with 2 very dynamic French teachers. I would highlight that we have a high level of community involvement. And just as an indicator there, I have mentioned that when it's Volunteer Appreciation Night, we honor upward of 70 volunteers in our school, which I think is remarkable. I've been principal at Lombardy for 2.5 years. When I first arrived at Lombardy, I had some conversations, lots of conversations with people. I did a lot of observing and a lot of listening. And the goals that started to emerge for me came from those conversations and observations. And one thing that stood out to me was that our school does have a very strong academic tradition, and our school is also has a positive school culture. And these were things that I wanted to build upon. In addition to that, I really felt that we needed to establish more of a collaborative culture around instruction. I felt that we needed to have a high level of service for students with special needs, and I felt that all instruction needed to be data-driven, i.e. assessment-driven, and engaging to students. And these goals were developed and put together and presented through our school success plan to our school community and with our staff. Our current state in these areas, I've outlined under strengths. Thank you. We currently have a school success plan that is developed by staff through the examination of EQAO, school culture scans, and informal observations. This is done collaboratively. We have professional learning communities that have been established through which professional development, analysis, and co-planning occur. We have a student success team that is now well established through which tiered interventions flow and through which we use the coaching model in which teachers work together to improve their practice. I feel that staff are proud and happy in their work, and I think that's worth mentioning. And certainly amongst our strengths, our EQAO scores are very strong. All of that being said, data is used to set larger goals in our school. So when we're looking at our school success planning, we do use data, but to set the larger goals. My goal is that data would be used in the sense, assessment would be used in the sense that it'd be formative assessment that drives all instruction. And I think that's an area of growth for us. We have high interest learning activities in many of our classrooms, but at the same time, that's something that, again, I would like to see grow. I would like to see students fully engaged at all times in what they're doing, because it's through that engagement that students truly work up to their maximum potential. And as much as EQAO is a strength for us in most areas, we do have areas of concern in EQAO. And I thought it might be appropriate at this time to have a quick look at some of our EQAO results and to talk a little bit about that. This is taken directly from the detailed school results. And just as a precursor, with a cohort the size of ours, which is roughly 30 students in either grade 3 or grade 6, each student is represented by between 3 and 4% on these bar graphs. So the school is the dark bars there, and you can see we have grade 3 and grade 6. 79% of students in our school are at or above the provincial average in the area of reading, 86% in writing, and 86% in mathematics. And we feel these are scores that are worthy of celebration for sure. In grade 6, 91% of our students are at or above the provincial average in the area of reading. In writing, it's 85%, and in mathematics, it's 55%. This particular graph shows how we've done over the years. The last 5 years trend can be seen here. So the school is the top bar, the top set of bars, and you can see the similarities between us and the board and the province. There is some variation, but again, there's more variation in school scores due to the small cohort than you'll see in either board or provincial scores. But in any case, we've remained strong with some variation in grade 3. In grade 6, you can see that there's been a steady improvement in reading and writing, again with some variation. But of concern for us is the area of mathematics, in which you can see a steady trend over 4 years that is dropping. And again, this is a reflection of what's happening in the board and in the province, but certainly it is of great concern to us, and it's something that we're focusing on as a team. So I did mention the cohort. What I thought would be of some interest, I've gone through the EQAO report in great detail, and I thought it would be of some interest for you to know that students who did not achieve the provincial standard in our school are almost all at level 2. We have 3 students, in fact, who are at level 1 in grade 3 and grade 6 combined. So the majority of our students are level 2 students. So that's very rich information in terms of us and our programming. As I said, there is good achievement in all areas, but that downward trend in junior math is of concern. And some of our theories around this that we've looked at through our professional learning communities as a group collaboratively is that perhaps students are having difficulty with math language. So we formulated a plan around building that skill, i.e. our students actually understanding the math that is being asked of them. Do they understand the problems when they see them? We also feel that multi-strand problems are creating some difficulty for students, and again, this is in looking at our EQAO data, where students are asked to bring together information from a variety of strands and apply it on any given problem. We see students struggle with those types of questions. And closely related to that is the thinking and application of knowledge. We feel that we're doing a good job teaching kids by rote what it is they need to know. We feel that we need to take another step in teaching kids how to think with math and how and when to apply it. Those are some of the takeaways from our EQAO data. Our desired state, I included this picture because it's a model that was created last year in our grade 6-7 class with Kevin Pankow, one of our great teachers, where they created a Mars 1 project-based learning activity that the kids were immersed in and did all kinds of high-interest cross-curricular activities through. And I'd like to see more and more of this type of activity happening in our school, because I feel that being immersed in the subject matter helps with that thinking and application piece that I referred to earlier. So that's just a little photo of that for you to enjoy. Our desired state is clear. We do want to see our junior math achievement turn around and improve. I feel very strongly that data needs to be used to guide all instruction, and that's important in my mind, so that we're meeting all students where they're at, and that our instruction is precise. I feel that all instruction needs to engage the learners, as I've said. And as we go forward, although our desired state is highly driven by our educational programs, I think we have to go forward in a considerate manner that continues to consider the wellness of all the stakeholders as you go forward. So there's no question we're most highly motivated by our educational programs, but we always have to keep in mind that wellness has to be a part of moving forward. Some of the steps to achieving our goals, this is not an exhaustive list, but I wanted to share some of these ideas with you. We want to, in our professional learning communities, to focus on assessment and engagement. We want to develop high-yield strategies to address declining junior math achievement in professional learning communities. We want to support staff with meaningful professional development. And we want to develop a plan for the collection and use of data to track outcomes and indicators which would assist in the yearly and longitudinal monitoring of school goals. The resources are used in this area primarily to release teachers and to have them work together and to spend money on professional development. And I feel very good about budgeting a lot towards this, because I really think that this is where increased student achievement begins. Some of the potential challenges that I foresee is determining a course of action collaboratively. The question of what is going wrong with junior math is a very complex question, and I'm not sure that we have all of the answers. We certainly have studied our data and come to some conclusions, as I outlined for you during that part of the presentation. But getting everybody pointed in the same direction and believing in what it is we're going to do, I think there is a challenge built into that. I think that supporting individuals through the change process is worth consideration, as change can be difficult, and getting people to move from their comfort zone into a less comfortable zone when it comes to perhaps instructing differently or bringing an added layer of assessment. Being mindful that all individuals, no matter where they're at with the change process, need support. I believe that's one of the challenges. And then from the audit that was recently done through our school, one of the suggestions was that we needed to develop indicators that can support and assist in the measurement of outcomes and effectiveness of other areas, including communication, professional learning activities, and wellness. And I think we've already begun with developing metrics for student achievement. That's something that we have a good sense of how to do. But measuring communication and professional learning and wellness, we foresee that as a more challenging task, and it's something that we're going to have to give some thought to as a staff in terms of how do we actually measure the efficacy of those strategies that we've put in place. That concludes my presentation, Chair.
Thank you so much. Comments, questions?
If I might, Jeff?
Who we got here?
It's Greg.
Greg, go ahead, Greg. Yep, speak up a bit. Oh, we've got you.
All right. Thanks very much for that presentation. I really appreciate the fact that it was, I think, right on 10 minutes, wasn't it, Jeff?
Yes, it was.
That was perfect. Thank you very much, and certainly a school that I would be proud to send my kids to.
Thank you, Chair Petersma. Trustee McAllister.
I certainly echo everything that Chair Petersma stated with regard to the school and the programming. I have a question for you, Chris, with regard to your school success plan. What measures, how aware is the community of your school success plan, and what measures do you take to promote it?
Well, our school success plan is primarily developed with our staff initially, but I've already presented our school success plan at our school council meeting, and the school council, or rather the school success plan is posted on our website in an effort to get it out there. Those are the main two ways that we communicate the school success plan to the community.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments on the phone lines? Mr. McDonald.
Thank you. You mentioned that you have, and I don't know the exact words, but you have tremendous volunteer support. Volunteer appreciation nights. What do you attribute to that support from a volunteerism standpoint? In how do you get the messaging out? What's your medium?
Through you, Chair. I believe that Lombardy is viewed as a community center. It's a unique site in that we have the public library in our building. We have a lot of community use in our building. We do have moms and dads, caregivers coming to us to volunteer, doing everything from lunch programs to reading with kids. There's a sense of ownership about Lombardy. But for me to give you a reason as to why that is, I'm not sure. It is a welcoming place, for sure. It's a place where people go out of their way to meet the needs of the community. But one comment that I do hear time and time again is that what sets Lombardy aside, or aside is different, is that we're not only teaching the kids, but we care about the kids. And you can see that in the interactions with our staff and our teachers and the children. There's a real feeling of ownership around children. And I think that that in itself is attractive. I think people feel welcome to the building, and I think that they want to be a part of it, and I think that they care, and I think that they want to be a part of their children's education.
So thank you for that. You've shown some EQO scores, and you're proud of what you've done, and you say you've got some work to improve. And I think it's important to note that you didn't shy away from the fact that you have some areas of necessary improvement, I guess, without using any other language. When you talk, I think it's the previous slide to this one. You have the second last bullet. Develop a plan for collection use of data to track outcomes. Do you think that that's a school responsibility or a board responsibility?
Through you, Chair, I believe that it's the school's responsibility. And the reason for that is that the information that we're getting around assessment is fluid and it's changing constantly. It's meant to be organic in nature. And I think that it's only at the school level that you can truly monitor that in an effective and on-time kind of way. I don't see any barriers for a school doing this. And that's why I really feel that this is an attainable step/goal for us. So I feel that it's a school responsibility.
Would you not agree that if we had something at the board level that would provide all that data to you, that would certainly allow your resources to be used in other ways?
Yes, through you, Chair. It would depend on the type of data you're talking about, I think. Certain data, when I think about PM benchmarks and Flint-Cooters and Prime, some of those diagnostics that we're doing, that's where I see the school really managing that. I think it would add an extra step for the board to try to involve themselves in that. However, when I think about some of the information that comes through dashboard metrics to us around report card marks and EQAO and how comparable they are, that type of thing, I think there is another level or layer of data that it would be helpful to have provided to us. I would add too is that the development of some tools to organize some of those school level data management systems, if you will, I think would be helpful, because every school I think does that differently.
So with your data that you're using, you've used some different things other than EQAU.
Yes, we do.
That lends itself to your formative assessments.
That's right.
Can you explain what formative assessments are?
Absolutely. Formative assessments are assessments that are put in place for the purpose of informing instruction. And to me, they're the most valuable type of assessment without drawing comparisons. if we have information on a student, as an example, who is reading at a PM level 16, that gives us very valuable information in terms of providing a program that is right in what we call the zone of proximal development, which is their sweet spot in terms of instruction. Not too hard, not too difficult. And this is one of my core beliefs, frankly, is that providing the same thing to every child is not helpful in having every child meet their potential. Every child needs what they need right at the level at which they need, and it's directly connected to engagement. And so I'm encouraging staff to go beyond the summative assessments that we see through EQAO and beyond even those formative assessments that we're comfortable with, such as PM benchmarks and Flint Cooter. We've added Prime last year to give us another layer of math information. I've asked people to, every time they embark on a new learning activity with kids, to do a diagnostic or a gap analysis and to see what is the landscape of my class. There's no point in teaching children things they already know, and there's certainly no point in overwhelming students with things that are beyond them, outside of that zone of proximal development. So for me, formative assessment is the key, and it represents a change in practice, and I think that staff need support in terms of putting effective formative assessments in place.
Just one final, if I may.
Looking at Mr. McAllister here, or? Go ahead.
We got to get them.
Yeah.
You've identified your current and your desired state based on your goals. What do you think? And I mean, without just what's your gut, I guess, as to a timeline to get to those goals, to achieve those goals.
That's through you, Chair. That's a complex question, because I think on some of these items, some of the things are easy to do and quick. And I think to this point, as I said, I've been principal for 2.5 years now at Lombardy, and the things that I've done to date are to put in place structures that I feel will allow for some of this work to be done that I've been describing to you this evening. To put a timeline on this, I think, is to generalize where I really can't. For certain staff, there's early adopters, and they jump right in and they run with the ball, and change doesn't present any difficulties. Other folks need a little more support around that, and it takes longer for some good reasons. So there's that variable. There's also the variable around which outcome are we looking for? Is it easy for me to put in place professional development? Absolutely it is. Is it going to be easy for us to develop metrics around things such as communication, wellness, and professional development? Maybe not. So I think that certain things will take a longer period of time than others. But part of our school success planning is to review our school success plan throughout the year, and to see how we're doing with our goals, and where we're not moving, we need to pay more attention to that. And we've done that right out of the gates this year through our audit, where the suggestion was made to get some longitudinal metrics in place around the student achievement. Our LRCs and myself have been working on that very thing today at school in our jobs, and that will be completed very soon. So I know that's not a direct answer to the question, but I think there are many answers to that question.
So just a follow up to that, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want you to think I was putting you on the spot. What I was,
Not at all.
you answered the question in the way I hoped you would, because to achieve your goal, I think what you're saying is it's an area of continuous improvement. And so as you see I think you said the areas that need more attention, whatever the case might be, you will focus those things on them. I think the process, though, is it's a continuum. So you'll continue to do that planning, that checking, and responding to the results that you see. Because I don't think this can be a quantitative exercise to say that we've checked it and we've accomplished it. until you know what the results are. So I think, you know, you've answered it, and I didn't want you to think I was putting you on the spot to say that it has to be by, you know, January 25th or something like that, but it's not a simple process to move the line.
No, it's not. Through you, Chair, it is not. And I appreciate that. And what I would say is that when we do sit down with our school success plan and look at where we're at, often we're at different places with different goals. And we have different color highlighters for we've done this and we're partway through this and we haven't touched that. And I think that is representative of the fact that it is that continuum that you have spoken to this evening.
Thank you. Trustee Cartner.
Thank you for this presentation. It was great. I certainly learned more about Lombardi than I knew before I came in here tonight.
Good.
I appreciate the colors you used in the graph. They're very clear and precise and easily understood. So thank you for the use of those particular colors that you combined to show your data from the EQAO. Just to follow up to your potential challenges slide that you shared with us, you mentioned that in developing your indicators, you're not going to have any problem to come up with the measurement of the outcomes. And you said that a couple of times, that it's something that we're very capable of doing as professionals, and that's good. And then you said it's a little more difficult to zero in on the other areas that you mentioned. Are there any supports that you feel that you would like to access to enable your staff to raise the bar on the communication, professional learning activities, and wellness from us as a board, through our senior staff, whatever?
Through you, Chair. I think in response to that, communication is an ongoing challenge, I think. No matter how much communication I may feel that I'm doing as leader in the school, I always feel like there's something else. There's somebody that I've missed, or there's somebody that hasn't heard the message. And so I guess my comment around that would be is that our Facebook has enjoyed some really nice success. And that was due to support from the school board. We had an incredible help from the folks who are, you know, in charge of that to come and work with us there and to get that out there. I think collaboration is always an area, perhaps, that we could use support with when it comes to the release of teachers. It is a tricky thing to do. In our school, when I'm scheduling back in June, I schedule in a release period for all teachers so that they have a time during the instructional day to meet and talk about professional things. I'm fortunate that I can do that because of the size of the school that I have. It lends itself to that. And I think that with schools with smaller staffs, I think it's increasingly difficult to hack out that time that is needed for teachers to be able to sit down and converse professionally around the issues at hand. So I'm just sort of thinking, I don't know if there's an answer to that, but we could certainly use discussion, I think, around the importance of professional learning communities, and I think that any administrator would accept support around getting those in place, because without them you really don't have a vehicle where you can collaboratively work on your school success plan and where you can collaboratively work on other initiatives that may be going on, whether it be inquiry or project-based learning or anything like that. So maybe it's in the resources, but I have been able to do it with the resources that I have. So I'm not sure. I haven't given a lot of thought to that question, but I will.
Mr. McAllister.
Just the last question. You reference high interest learning activities in many classrooms, as well as a collaborative culture around instruction. To a parent or a prospective parent in the Lombardy area, what does that mean, and how would that parent recognize it?
Well, to me, engagement has three elements. It has the element of high interest for students, and I think we would all understand that. It also has to have an element of importance for the students. It has to matter. You have to have a good answer to the question, why do I have to learn this? And thirdly, your instruction needs to be at an appropriate level for the student. If you have those three things together, they kind of come together in a really beautiful Venn diagram, and in the center is engagement. And so my feeling is if I was giving a tour to some prospective parents in our community, I would want them to see project-based learning for starters. That's a place where kids are doing a lot of those things. They're able, student voice is honored. They are working together. They're creating exciting things that they are intrinsically motivated to create. As well, it's cross-curricular and high interest. In addition to that, I think that they would want to see a good understanding of assessment in the classroom. I think that assessment and engagement are very, very closely related, and I would, especially around self-assessment, where students are able to look at their own work and determine whether or not their work is at a level 2 or a level 3 or a level 4. And there's evidence that you can see in classrooms that do that. There's anchor charts on the wall, there's rubrics on the wall, and the children take ownership for the assessment of their own work. I think there's something very highly engaging about that. Other areas, of course, I think you can't talk about engagement without talking about technology. Technology is first and forefront in the minds of our children, and we need to meet them there and view technology as a engaging and highly valuable instructional tool. So you would want to see kids using smart boards and iPads in a variety of ways to do productive curriculum-based things. So I think if we were to have that hypothetical tour of the school of a prospective parent, I would really want them to see some good evidence of student learning and assessment, some project-based learning going on, and certainly some technology, just to name a few.
Thank you very much. That's a wonderful presentation.
Okay.
Through you, Chair. Chris, you touched on this a little bit, and that had to do with the potential challenges. And on your slide, it mentions supporting individuals through the change process. And I've always been interested in change management. I see it actually as a craft. And when you do get teachers or individuals, I shouldn't just say teachers, individuals who are resisting to change, what are some of the mechanisms that you use to bring them aboard so that in fact you can get over this hurdle of potential challenges?
I think, through you, Chair, I think first and foremost you have to approach it from a supportive standpoint. You cannot have high expectations of people if you don't have a high level of support to go along with it. So there needs to be the appropriate amount of professional development, staff and colleague support, those types of things. Reassurances even, just kind words that go a long way. But that being said, I guess another thing that I rely on is what I call critical mass, which is if you have a majority of teachers who are moving along, that can be a very powerful motivator for a teacher who is, as you've said, somewhat resistant. Lastly, of course, we have some of those managerial tools at our fingertips that are never easy to use, and we do so very cautiously and very considerately, but crucial conversations, I think, are part of that process somewhere on the continuum where you do need to sit and meet with somebody in an honest conversation and really try to understand where they're coming from so that you can see where you can support them, but always keeping your educational goals in the forefront. Wellness is important, but it can't be wellness without educational goals, and it can't be without the benefit of students first and forefront in our mind. So individual wellness, I think, has to go along with, be coupled with student wellness. And I think it's those kinds of conversations that, although they can be very difficult to have, are conversations that sometimes become necessary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Buckland, was that you that wanted to?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, three things. One, thank you for this presentation. I like the report, and I plan to head west and hit Highway 15 and find this school and visit you. Secondly, a comment. You mentioned the landscape. It was a term I liked, you know, where we take the weeds out, remove the rocks, add manure, and prepare things appropriate for learning. But you mentioned that you didn't want to create excessive challenge for students, and you didn't want to teach what they know. The latter I prefer, but let's not forget Browning, that man's reach must exceed his grasp. And my third thing is, I was surprised that we still have the K-8 elementary schools. And so a challenging question is, when this progressive wave hits there, and we lose the 7/8, do you have any thoughts on providing leadership for these grade 6s who will now need to prepare and present the leadership presently provided by your grade 8s?
Through you,
Thank
Chair. Through you, Chair. To be honest, I haven't given a lot of thought to that particular question, but I will say this. We have just received a new document from the ministry that outlines the planning of student learning throughout their learning career. And within that document, there are opportunities for leadership. And I believe that if the grade 6s are the oldest students in the school, they will take up the mantle of leadership that the grade 8s would leave behind, and that they would do so with great pride. And in fact, through all kinds of activities like reading buddies and those types of things, which we have in place in our school, we have a lot of opportunities for the interaction between the older kids and the younger kids. But we use the language student leaders in our school, and we refer to older kids. And we remind them that the younger kids are watching them and are going to emulate what they do. And so I think there are mechanisms in the school that could be put in place that would help with that transition. Student council comes to mind. I know that the grade 6s would be thrilled to take that up. I'm always amazed with the junior grades, the grade 4, 5, 6, in terms of they're unique in that they've got immense enthusiasm around life, and they also have immense abilities academically. It's such a sweet spot in education, if you ask me, to be teaching a junior grade, and I think that sometimes we underestimate what it is they can do and what their potential is, but it is a really nice age group to work with, and I would see the transition around leadership to go from a grade 8 student to a grade 6 student as one being very fluid and without barriers.
Yeah, thank you. And I would hope that we'd use the experience of the previous schools moving to that mode. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Buckland. Okay.
Peter.
Trustee Garrow has a question.
Yeah, Chris, great report. It's just one thing that I'm looking for. Maybe it's something that we could probably extend to other schools when they're presenting this, is that from our school board, Akwesasne Mohawk Board of Education, and talking to Barry Montour, Dr. Montour, is that we have to compete with schools in the states. And I like your communication plan that you're established with your community and with the parents in that. But looking at your competition, I guess, in your coterminous boards, how do you rate with them, or do you see success that your catchment area, you're pulling in more students?
Through you, Chair, I don't know the answer to that question.
Director.
We actually can get you the answer to that question. Phil's hiding back there, but that's something that we could take a look at. And I guess the question that I would have on that, Peter, if I may, through the chair, if we would like that as part of the report, that can be made a part of it. We have a pretty good idea in a community who's coming to our brand, and we could make that a part of what we would add to a school's report. I do know that 10 years ago, Peter, that was a very important question to the board at that time, and that pupils and seats was a critical question. And so I would seek some direction from the board on this. We do know that, Chris, this is the first night, and if that is important information, we can make it part of the preliminary overall review that you saw Chris take you through when he described his community, I would see it fitting in there.
Yeah, no, I would. That's what I would appreciate. I think it's just something to add to show whether there's growth or not, but also because that's one thing that we're striving to do to, I guess, increase the quality of education for our students and opportunities. But and the communication plan will get that out to the parents that they want to choose schools and not another school. No, thank you very much for that, and a great report, Chris.
Yes, and Trustee Guerra, we will take that back to the Accountability Framework Committee and have a discussion about that. It was not something that we had asked for in the presentation, but we certainly will discuss that at another meeting. So thank you so much for bringing that forward.
Thank you.
Trustee McCray.
Partner's the name.
Yeah,
Just a comment to bring forward the Innovation Award that the trustees are starting or have already started. Keep in mind some of those innovative staff members that you have, and
Names are popping into my head right now.
we hope you have an application sent into us.
Thank you for that.
Oh, Director.
I'm not sure the trustees have any questions. Through you, Chair, I'd just like to thank Chris for, I think, guinea pig, first guy out of the blocks, whatever you want to say.
I've enjoyed it.
I know that you've done a great job with this. We watched closely because all of us at that part of the horseshoe wanted you to do well. And quite frankly, we are not surprised by your presentation, nor should the trustees be surprised that we have right now, and I believe that Ian, Charlotte, and Nancy, and Jeremy would agree, we probably have one of the best cohorts of principals in the province. And although Chris shone tonight, and Chris, I was absolutely proud of you tonight. First of all, it started with your beliefs, what you believe in as a professional, and you started it off with that, with saying, this is what I believe. And I believe the trustees and your community want to know what you stand for, because when we know what you stand for, we know what you'll also stand against. And all means all, and you certainly had the quiz, because we want to know, all means all. Are all the kids at Lombardy getting what we think? And I think you answered that question. The other thing is, I think you know the students in your 2.5 years there. I think you know what's going on, and I think you have articulated not only where you want them to go, but this is where they are. Because unless you have a clear understanding where they are, how do you project them into the future? And you've done a good job of that. The other pieces here, and I think Trustee Cartner talked with Trustee McAllister, Trustee McDonald, you haven't gone away. It's not perfect in Lombardy, and you didn't say it was. And you said there's some places that we have to spend some time and energy. And that, to me, sends a message of integrity. It sends the whole aspect of character that we report on the truth as we're going through. And finally, I think for you to take home as you drive safely back to Perth, Chris, thank you for coming through tonight, is that you're a professional. I think one of the greatest things to be called by someone else in your profession is that that's a professional. Thank you.
And David has used every word that I was going to use. Integrity, certainly character. What you proved to us tonight, first and foremost, is you put kids first. You proved to us that your school is on the right track, and you know you have a great handle on where you're going, you know where you are and where you're going. Great integrity, honest. We appreciate the fact that there were questions you couldn't answer. There were tough questions thrown at you, and I like the fact that you didn't try to answer them when you couldn't. And that certainly shows character to us. But I think most important, you've proven to us you're a true leader. So thank you so much for the presentation. It was amazing. You've set a bar that's pretty high, and I know there's a lot of principals who are going to be watching this on Friday when it comes out on the webcast. So,
thank you, Chair.
Chair Victoria is on the line, and she may have a comment that she'd like to make, because she certainly has been very involved in working with the school and supervising.
Certainly.
And I'm not sure, Victoria, if I've caught you off guard.
No, I think Chris did just an outstanding job of presenting the school and the school's vision and where they're intending to go. And I just think, I just echo the comments that have been made tonight. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. And by the way, Superintendent Coombs has joined us as well, I believe. He's there. Okay. Chris, thank you so much, and safe drive home. Okay, we're moving on to the next item is the update on the Living Well Charter. And Val, you're online, and we're going to be watching a video here, I believe, but you'll be doing this through the phone lines. So we'll just give a second. Are we starting with the video? Val, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, are you there now?
Oh, yes, I am. Sorry.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Great. I'll give a little introduction before we show the video. So the purpose of this report is to just give you a bit of an update on the Living Wells Charter. We're experiencing a lot of change in this charter, so it's an opportunity to sort of review where we are at and where we're heading. As you know, one of the mandates of our charter is to work on mental health primarily, but also looking at making sure all students and staff feel that they belong, and our desired state to promote that open talking about anxieties and individual differences in our schools, and to support students and staff actually as they're seeking help and supporting them when issues arise. So this work is not a standalone work. We have many other aspects of our in our board and many other charters that we work with, some of them being the inclusive and accepting school environments, and as well as the equity and diversity network. So this fall in October, we were able to partner with the Equity and Diversity Network, and we hosted the first ever UCDSB Youth Equity Forum. The theme of it was "We All Belong, Hope Will Not Be Silent." The organizers of this forum were a number of staff, principals, Susan Edwards, myself, and also we had great leadership from 3 teachers who I'd like to recognize. From TIS, Lori Taylor, from BCI, Heidi McDonald, and from Russell, Lisa Almanowski. They really were the heart and soul of getting this off the ground in basically 5 weeks of school planning
Val, can I
to get all the people
Val, can
there.
I just stop you for a second?
Sure.
Somebody online has to mute their phone lines because we're starting to hear a lot of conversation in the background.
Hold it. I'm just watching our director here.
Okay, can you mute yourself there, Trustee Buckland?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Sorry about that, Superintendent. Go ahead.
No problem. So the students who attended the Living Well Forum, or who attended the Youth Equity Forum, really understood and are able to go back to their schools and be catalysts for the You Belong. So if I could, we'd like, with the help of Lisa Raymond, to show the video now of a summary of the We All Belong, Hope Will Not Be Silent.
Today, you're involved in something bigger than yourself,
If I can get it back on now.
something bigger than your classroom, something bigger than your school, something bigger than our school board. You're involved in a movement across North America and the world to say all means all.
And our team is
Trustee Buckland, you're not muted.
My name is Lori Taylor, and I'm a student success teacher at Thousand.
Trustee Buckland, is that you with things in the background still?
Yeah. Oh, you're not showing the video?
You can't see it because we're not doing a live feed.
Oh.
Okay, so are you muted now, please?
Is that muted? Did that do it?
We can still hear you.
At Thousand Island Secondary School in Brockville.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Well, today is a really exciting day for the Upper Canada District School Board. It's our first ever Equity Summit, and our theme this year is LGBTQ inclusion. And it's really pioneering for our board to have a summit focused on this topic, and the response has been overwhelming. There's over 300 staff and students, and the energy in the building is fabulous, and it's a great day. we have speakers that have come in from Toronto, Rima from Harmony Movement and EGAL Canada. We also have some local presenters, Calvin Neufeld, as well as Maureen and Elizabeth from LGBT Lanark. And the students have an opportunity to hear speakers speak on issues about inclusion and homophobia, biphobia, transphobia, and just how to make schools more welcoming to all our students, really living up to our board policy of all means all. I think the really big takeaway is that students know that they're not alone. And particularly for us in rural communities, it's really hard to network kids together because transportation is a huge obstacle. So by having everyone in one building together, kids have a chance to meet each other and form, friendships that way, and to really network out. And we hope that students will take this back to their schools and really start a movement. From this, we'd really like to grow by having more equity summits within the board, and there's already movement afoot to have our second one. And we'd really like to look at other areas of inclusion, for example, addressing things like poverty, multiculturalism, First Nations inclusion, ableism, and really address all of the really wonderful facets that make up our school board.
My name is Olivia Dendy. I'm in grade 12 at Thousand Islands Secondary School. Today we're all getting together, all the LGBTQ groups and equity groups from around the school board coming together to show our support and talk about our ideas that we've come up with throughout the year. It's important because, just like they were saying upstairs in the presentation I was listening to, we've got safety in numbers, we've got security in numbers and support. And if we get together like this and show each other how much support there is throughout our school system, that it can increase our ability to show our support.
My name is Tori Brown. I go to Russell High School. I think it's important because there's so many hate crimes and so much homophobia everywhere and everything, and it shouldn't be. There shouldn't be that. There shouldn't be racism, there shouldn't be homophobia, there shouldn't be those things. We're kind of learning, some of them are how to run your GSA and some of them are just how to be an ally, and some of them are trying to understand why we have to have these things, and just different things you can learn from it. It changes every time.
Great. Thanks, Lisa, for your help with showing that. As you can see, by engaging the students in this work of We All Belong, we really spread support for all our students. And just as they referenced in the video about looking at different types of forum, we are working now at planning a staff forum for some time after Christmas. So that's some important work that's happening as well. So you can see how there is a real intertwining of several of the board initiatives in the work that we do. These are not standalone programs. Some of the other work in the Living Well Charter is very exciting as well, because we have finally become part of cohort 3 of the Provincial Mental Health Assist program. This means that we have been able to hire a mental health lead in our board, as well as work with a mental health assist coach for the Eastern region. We recently hired Russ LaRock to the position of mental health lead. He just started a week ago today. He is from the Algoma area, where he was a clinical health director, and he has extensive experience in this field, and has extensive experience moving systems forward and connecting mental health with school systems. So we're very excited about working with Russ. I had said in my report following his orientation, but I'll tell you, he has jumped in with 2 feet in this work. And the work this year is, for him, is a resource mapping exercise, where he is going to be looking at our system and at the school levels to determine our existing strengths and needs throughout the board in the area of mental health. With this, or alongside this, there is also a plan that he'll work with our Living Well Committee to develop the draft UCDSB mental health strategy. This strategy, of course, will align with our board plan, where we'll identify our strengths and what our needs, and what will our priorities be moving forward for health, mental health, and for well-being. A goal of the work is to select and support evidence-based mental health promotion and prevention programs across our board. Being part of the cohort also gives us full access and a lot more access to connecting with other boards that are quite involved in this process, especially boards that have been involved in cohort 1 and cohort 2, meaning that they have developed their strategies and they're 2 years into the implementation of them. So that's a real benefit for us to be able to work with and learn from others. At the board level, we're continuing our work with Dr. Santor and My Mental Health magazine, and he's bringing training into classrooms in our schools to increase mental health literacy with students and staff. We're continuing capacity building that we've started over the past 2 years. This year, we're working with the Canadian Mental Health Association to offer a 2-day mental health first aid course. That's new for our board. And we're also continuing with the 2-day applied suicide intervention training, which we are working in getting more and more staff trained. And we've been working on that for 2 years now. Our community partnerships are continuing. We're developing our efforts with the checkered flags. We're working with the mental health associations, and they are doing some revisions to that and also getting a web version of it available that we'll be able to put on our board website. And also they're developing their own checkered flags website. We're also working with many of our community partners and our coterminus board on a suicide protocol document. The review date for that was today, but we had to cancel it due to the weather. But it's been rescheduled for early in December, and we'll be moving forward with that. So as you can see, there's a lot of exciting work happening, sort of in 2 streams, but these 2 streams are merging together. So that's my report.
Thank you. Comments, questions? Trustee Kartner.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Question about your health lead that has been hired. We only have the 1 person in that position right now?
That's correct. There's only 1 person for each board.
So he's zeroing in on the eastern part of the board at the moment, or is that just a small part of his obligations? No, sorry, I should clarify. He will be working with our whole board. He's actually working out of Frankville at the moment. That's where his office is, but he will be traveling around the whole board. We do have a mental health assist coach. That's a coach that's appointed from the province, and our particular coach is based out of Ottawa, and he represents all the boards in the Eastern region. So he will be the person who helps us connect. If we say, okay, we're going in this direction, he'll be able to connect with other coaches across the province and say, do any of you have boards that are working on this? Because I've got a board who wants to work on that as well. So they'll help connect us at that level. So it's sort of a provincial level. Thank you.
Anyone on the phone lines? Questions, comments? Director.
Just a word. Thanks, Val, and thank you, John, for the leadership that you've been displaying in this particular portfolio. Val, I'd just like to comment from, as you know, the tens of schools that I'm in the course of a week, and this week I guess I've been in about 10 schools already. And I would let you know that you hit a home run with that particular day with the kids and the staff. I'm seeing the results of your work in the last couple of days at GAN, a wonderful visit there, where the kids were getting at BCI, to TIS, a fabulous visit there, and then most recently I was involved in an event at BCI that was organized mainly by the students with the staff and Trustee Kartner and I would say that the kids who attended the session in Kemptville took back the exact spirit of what was meant to create an inclusive school, a school that moved beyond tolerance to acceptance. And we were involved in something I think will probably take place in many of our schools, where we're just a higher level of calling for everyone is created to really mean that every student in the school has to be served correctly and adequately in a very loving, nurturing environment that gets the best of them. So Val, I think it's a home run. I think the fact that the staff are agreeing and moving with it is another good sign. And finally, I think the students, their voice is heard here, and I believe that this has been very, very powerful to move forward and increasing the wellness of our 7 through 12 schools. So Val, thank you, and keep going.
Thank you. And it was a full team approach. There were many folks involved in organizing that.
Thank you. Trustee McCray.
Through you, Chair, I just wondered how many LGBTQ groups do we have within our board at this present time? Are we seeing a movement towards that?
Yes.
Yeah, and how many would we have at this?
I don't know, but we can get back.
Through you, Chair?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
I think I don't have an exact number, but several of the sessions at our youth forum was about getting that started. Many of our high schools have it. As a result of our youth and equity forum, a number of schools, some had tried it earlier, but were not at the place and did not feel that support around them to get it going. And we've had emails, Susan Edwards, myself, the committee, have had emails from teachers at schools saying, we've revived it, or we're going at it again. One example is North Dundas High School. Really, it is a growing movement in the schools because it's a place where all students feel safe.
Thank you.
Through you, Chair?
Yes?
I'm a huge supporter of inclusiveness in our schools and supporting the lesbian gay community. And I'm just wondering how we reached out, and this is to Val, through you, to Brandon, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the girl who started the outreach at TIFF a few years back when Brockville had its first Pride Parade, to see what can we do better, what are we doing right. I know they've left the school now, but are we in communication just for suggestions from youth that have left the schools?
Actually, through you, Chair, actually we haven't reached out to those two particular individuals, but we did have two student groups, actually one from TIS and one from BCI, who were actually running sessions at the youth forum. And I think the work of those two students, they left a legacy at their school, and those students carried on the message. They were the ones who gave workshops on how to get going in their community. And the other piece of that is that the students have been given the voice to do that. So it is a really good suggestion, Lisa, and I know that the teacher, Lori Taylor at TIS, can probably communicate with those students and have them come back. I'll give you an example of a way they're reaching out. Last year, they were their group, the GSA group at TIS, was concerned about things on the buses, and actually Allison Inglis and myself met with them, and they provided us with a report with their concerns. So they, as I said, they've been given that voice and not afraid to reach out. But and we can certainly look at connecting with those two, and maybe from a growing aspect, being older, they could come back and certainly help us a bit too. We're open to all ideas.
Thank you. And just for information's sake, it was Brandon Timmerman and Kaylee Villeneuve. And
right.
You keep mentioning the name Lori Taylor, and I have the privilege every Monday of watching Lori at work. And the support she gives to all of our students is absolutely amazing. So it would not surprise me that she would stay in touch with these students. She's just the picture of support for students. It's amazing to watch her. So it's nice to have teachers like that in our system who are showing leadership and compassion and understanding for all of our kids. Trustee McCray?
Through you, Chair. Val, could you tell us just a little bit about the 2-day mental health first aid course? What's included in that?
In in the 2-day mental health is provided, the training is provided by the Canadian Mental Health Association. It is it's a structured course. It's like a first aid course. And basically, the trainers go over a number of topics. It can be eating disorders, suicide. They go through anxiety would be another topic. So they spend a bit of time on each of those. It is, it's not for the folks taking it, it's for awareness level. It's for helping to understand. It's if I can compare it to physical first aid, it's like, you know, putting pressure on the wound at the moment and getting the person to help. It is not, once you finish that course, you are not trained in doing any sort of tier 2 intervention. It's just an awareness level to notice signs and to know when to have the conversation with folks that might be struggling.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Well, thank you so much for the report.
You're welcome, and sorry I couldn't be there.
No problem. Thank you so much. Okay, moving ahead. Back in, just to give background on the Arts Sustainability Plan, which is in a draft format right now, and we're going to hear bits of that. Back in September 25th, 2013, Trustee McAllister brought forward a motion that was asking the director to develop strategies using the $300,000 allocated by the trustees to support the arts to build teacher capacity in the arts K-6 program, and just report back to the committee of the whole. And I believe we're going to hear a draft report at this point. Ewan is going to do it for us. And could I get Mr. Carswell, would you like to introduce this for us?
Yeah, it would be my pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm sure you you know Ewan McIntosh well. I believe he sat at this table at one time. Ewan is vice principal in the program department. A talented music teacher in his own right, but very interested in supporting the arts. He's been working with past teacher groups in supporting the expansion and quality of our arts programming in Upper Canada. And if you know Ewan, he's a pretty smart guy. You'll see some of his good thinking in the plan. So without further ado, Ewan.
Good evening, Chair, trustees, senior administration staff, and director. It's indeed my pleasure to present this draft plan to you this evening with regards to building capacity. And indeed, the goal of this draft plan is increased capacity to deliver arts in all schools in Upper Canada. As we all know, the arts is a major component to a holistic learning journey for all of our students from K to 12, and this is what we believe this plan would attend to. The strategy for achieving this plan and achieving our goal is to move to a dedicated staffing model where we would see 2 full-time arts resource teacher positions created. At this current juncture, our belief would be that these positions would have a focus with qualifications in music. This dedicated staffing would work primarily within the T4L department and would serve the entire region. The first task of this team, first of a number of tasks, would be to collect a system-wide inventory. We know the value of grasping current state before moving to solutions or to remedial work, and we believe it is paramount to the plan to invest some time into that system-wide inventory. 2 components of the inventory would include physical, all non-consumable items with respect to the arts in all of our K-12 schools, as well as a human component to better understand the knowledge, skills, and dispositions of our teaching staff in K-12 with regards to arts instruction. Upon completion of this inventory, which we believe would be ongoing throughout the entire process, the team would move to constructing a centralized monitoring of system resources, physical resources, and would target resource allocations to gaps. So what that really would look like would be to ensure that students and staff have access to the resources for world-class learning opportunities in the arts when they need it and how they need it. We believe the next component of the plan, and indeed may be the focal point of all good pedagogy, is effective instruction. is the team would be working with staff and stakeholders to coordinate and deliver targeted professional development. Again, this would build on that staff inventory of better understanding the knowledge, skills, and dispositions that currently exist with respect to arts instruction, and would respond with targeted and meaningful professional development where it is most needed, and again, when it is most needed. One of the things that we know that exists in Upper Canada, indeed exists in public education across Canada, is the great relationships that all of our schools have with community artists. We believe that this team could make significant inroads if we created and spearheaded a resident artist policy and procedure as part of this overall plan. The goal of that would be to better systematize our relationship with the fantastic artists that exist in Eastern Ontario and indeed our larger community, so that children in all of our schools would have more equitable access to working with resident artists throughout Upper Canada. Some of the other major projects that this staff would engage in would be building on the success of our Band for Credit program. As you're aware, our Band for Credit program is operated through our T.R. Léger School of Adult, Alternative and Continuing Education. It is essentially a concert band program where students would be able to participate and access, at the same time, access curriculum to achieve a credit through participating in bands. We've had a number of Band for Credit programs occur across the system. The task of this team would be to expand Band for Credit programming so that all students from grades 8 through 12 would have access to this credit bearing opportunity. Beyond music program supports, the team would also be tasked with coordinating and leading regional performance groups of varying arts genres. That would also include supporting existing performance groups and performance events that we do see and embrace in Upper Canada. Some of those include, but are not limited to, the Music Monday program, which is a national music sharing program, as well as Step Into Motion, which is a board-wide primary and junior dance awareness and development program. Finally, our time frame for this program we believe would be 6.5 years. A 0.5 transition year. Upon approval and direction from the Board of Trustees, we would begin transition to this plan. Following that would be a 5-year implementation program, closing with a 1-year review and reflection program as we arrive at 2020. To just comment on it briefly, it's no accident that this plan has been developed to arrive at 2020. We are indeed very passionate about our board goal of a 90% graduation rate by 2020, and we believe that this first draft is a step in the direction to supporting arts instruction for students to better access opportunities for success and achieving that goal of a graduation certificate or diploma. So it is again my pleasure to present this draft to you this evening, and I do look forward to, and amongst our team we all look forward to your feedback as we continue to shape this plan moving forward.
Thank you. Comments, questions? Mr. McAllister.
Thank you very much, Ewan, for this presentation. Pardon me. Firstly, I want to, perhaps as author of this motion, which you are responding to here, apologize a little bit. I'm a little sheepish about the Arts Charter Group, because I know this constitutes really a 360-degree turn in the way we were going to a certain extent. I think the plan that you have formulated here really addresses the intent of the motion, and the motion really was a focus on increasing teacher capacity. You have gone beyond that a little, considerably, in terms of the mapping of human resources. I particularly like the role for the community in the program, in particular the resident artist. I think that's brilliant. And I'd like to see more resident artists, and because we do have a lot of talent and resources in our community. I also like the idea of sharing resources. I think we are going to see the end of the day when we have sets of guitars perhaps or drums in one school unused because that particular teacher has now moved on, and I think that is excellent. There's just one issue, and you may have addressed it, but and that is that I hope that we will aggressively promote our summer courses so that more teachers will want to take the accreditation courses. Anyway, thank you very much. I think we're on a very good path for sustainability of music, but not just music, but the arts as a whole. So thank you.
Trustee Cartner.
I'm pleased to see this as a seconder of the motion. I'm pleased to see that you have expanded the timelines that we had given to it. We just have to find the money to pay for it in the last 3 years, but that would be a budget question here at this table. I'm just curious, whenever the inventory is going to be taken of the materials that are in our schools, I am very cognizant of the fact that many school councils have purchased materials for schools, and I'm just wondering how that is going to be handled whenever you investigate that indeed a set of drums have been put in the school paid for by the parent council. Is that going to be considered part of the board inventory or not?
I know, let's let the director answer that first. Yeah.
Sure.
I'd like to have staff fumble around with it first, but really that's meant for me. The fact is, in the legislation and the policies and procedures, when school councils purchase something and it's donated to the school, it's donated to the board, and they have to understand that that's where it's gone to. However, in light of that, we have to be really, really cognizant of the fact that when someone's got a big fundraiser to raise something, to sneak in at night and say that, well, we're moving this over to another part of jurisdiction, geography, would be highly insensitive and potentially irresponsible.
Right.
One of the things we're going to have to do is work with our school councils, work with our parent and partnership groups that the vice chair is working with, to explain that when you purchase of that nature, for it to sit for 2-3 years somewhere and not be used, it doesn't serve anyone properly. And I think we have to create a culture. I think we have that in the system now, where they would understand that the 30 guitars that were perhaps at Lombardi will be better used at Chimo, because and I think this school council is going to be really worked with to say, is this not a better use? Because we do know that as Trustee McAllister said, through the collective agreement, through different teachers do move, and they can move because they want to. I think what we have to do is be conscious of educating the entire board about a purchase of that nature. And I think a school council, knowing that something of that nature would probably, if the right way would be, say, how can we do this? What's going to have to happen is school councils may see that, well, you raised $10,000 to that. If the inventory is worth $5,000, could we purchase? I think we're going to have to encourage that type of relationships, and I think we're going to see things like that happening. Now, I'm not taking off the spot through the chair. You may have a really creative answer down the road there, but that's a sort of technical one. I'll give the bad news. Once it's been purchased for the board to the school, it becomes property of the board.
Through you, Chair.
Just hang on for 1 second, Trustee Swan. We're going to get a response from Ewan. Go ahead. What you going to say?
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I agree entirely. The major goal here with respect to resource allocation is, again, at the same time building that culture of mutual understanding and shared purpose. So this is, and the team that we would be assembling to carry out this plan would indeed be supported to become agents of that change, so that folks can develop that sense of culture and sharing, so that we move towards that sort of allocation and resource sharing. Finally, it'd be an iterative process, and again, I think that speaks to some of the timeline pieces that we put forward in this draft plan, is while there is some technical sort of bad news, as the director iterated. It indeed is not something that we plan on implementing right away. This would be a slow change process. We'd want to make sure everyone is partners along the journey.
Thank you. Trustee Swan?
Just a question to you, Chair. Do we have a policy in regards to school funds purchasing resources like this through the parent councils? I know if school closes, they usually will follow the school to where the majority of the students go. But is that a policy or just a procedure we're following?
That would be just a procedure. Trustee Swan. Trustee Cartner.
Through you, Chair, to the Director, I think what you've just said is something that is indeed must be communicated out to the public and to the parent councils a long time before this is made advertised. I think it's an important part that we get out there before this actually starts to happen.
Through you, Chair, I totally agree with you. I think the communication piece would be critical. The other piece of this is that we do explain to parent councils, because most of the fundraising that has happened over the last 25 to 30 years is in playground equipment and playground. And what we inform is that once it's given to us, we have to maintain it and maintain its safety. And then so far as we go through, that it becomes the property of the board at that time. This is the same in other resources that you'd have if, for example, if a school council or group of parents came together and supported the school with the purchase of a large item for a shop or for an art program, again, that becomes the property. We have to do is be very conscious that we do this. The other issue here that sort of clouds it is that we've had a committee for the last 10 years give out hundreds of thousands of dollars of art equipment that there's a perception that the school owns that as well as we go through. So we're going to be not only sensitive with school councils, but with principals and school teachers who have seen these things in their school, and perhaps if they saw them moving down the road to a different place, might have a similar type of emotion. So I think there is going to be some education, and I think we have to go back to the building a culture that's inclusive, recognize if it's not here, then we'll use it there, and I think that the shame would be it's sitting somewhere not being used, because as Trustee McAllister said, that perhaps on that particular staff they don't have the person who has the skill set to use that. Yet the same token, I think that we have, as Trustee Swan has said, we have several K-6 schools where I believe potentially some of the music equipment should have headed to the 7 and 8 school the kids were going to, because we have some really great things happening now in the music programs in our consolidated 7 through 12 models.
Vice Chair McDonald.
Thank you. Just a question for you on the draft plan that you have as part of the report. I think you have in this, you talk about the resident artist, and here it talks about a resident artist policy. Can you explain to me what you mean by a resident artist policy and what in fact a resident artist would be?
Well, through you, Chair, we really believe that this could be something that could be developed over time, including a variety of stakeholders. Really, at its core, it would have to be a policy that many stakeholders could get behind. At this juncture in the draft plan, we're really leaving it to a space where we can build that with stakeholders throughout the system to better understand what a policy for a resident artist could look like.
So I guess are you talking an internal policy or a governance policy around a resident artist?
Through you, Chair, I think we would be able to leave that open to, again, to all stakeholders to see how we want to proceed.
Final?
Yes.
The time frame you have is 6.5 years. And your final year, you're talking about a year of review. What's your intention during the 5-year implementation for any review?
I can't hear.
Okay, we'll speak up a bit.
Through you, Chair. We believe that we really want to adhere to a model of continuous improvement as we move forward. That would be a major part of our focus throughout the 5-year implementation plan. And throughout that time, we believe that continuous improvement, as well as developing a design-focused mind frame for all of the projects related to this draft plan, would be implemented. So throughout that process, human-centered design would be applied, again, as well as continuous improvement model. The final year of review and reflection would really be an opportunity for us to look at where we have moved forward in this journey, building capacity for arts instruction, and also to best prepare the system for feedback and grasping current state to move forward beyond 2020.
Yeah. We'll just.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay.
Start on.
So your 1-year review is that formal review process to determine what the next steps would be after your implementation. So it's that similar type of presentation type thing coming back to us at that point and showing us the results over the 5 years.
Associate Director Carswell.
And I guess one of the things, in addition to that review, the ongoing monitoring is really through that inventory, which is not just the physical resources, but tracking what our skill sets are and where they are in the school. So we're looking to move the needle. I can't tell you how big those gaps are initially, but having identified them, our goal would be over the years to reduce those gaps, to build our cadre of skilled teachers that are willing and able to support students in learning the arts.
Thank you. Trustee Kartner.
I think this leads right into our critical factors under the resource, where we're looking at our sustained public confidence resources must be allocated equitably, responsibly, and timely. So I think that fits in there perfectly. And perhaps we can, in your years of implementation, just a suggestion, maybe in working with the communications department, that we have an updating of our O Canada video. It's a little outdated now. Still good stuff, but maybe that could be a showcase for what has been achieved because of the arts are included in that video.
All right.
Did Chair Petersma send you an email or something?
Just to let you know we have a new one. It's
That's very funny there.
Yeah. I just thought someone had.
No,
Right?
we didn't.
Someone got through to her.
Nope.
Excellent. Anyone on the phone lines would like to comment?
Yeah, is Art on?
Pardon
Can you
me?
hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear Art?
Art, can we hear you?
Yeah.
You've heard
Okay, now I wanted to congratulate Yohan. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, congratulate Yohan on the presentation. Quite ambitious and well thought out. We remember Yohan as our first student trustee, and we look at the leadership he showed there and how he's gone on to show program leadership. I like the idea of artists in residence, and I see this as an opportunity for the unions to join us in a more professional outlook than just seniority. You know, we have seen programs aborted as a result of seniority only, and we are facing a time when a lot of specialists will be retiring. So the building of this program will require quite a partnership. I look at the this sense of artist in residence. Now, Pavarotti, could we afford the $30,000 an hour, and were he alive, would not be allowed to teach in Ontario, nor would Margaret Atwood, the great Canadian artist. So this is a serious problem that will have to be dealt with, along with the time frame and the amount of money that we've allotted it.
Thank you.
Good luck, Yohan.
Thank you, Trustee Buckland. Any other comments on the phone lines?
Yes, I'd just like some clarification through you, Chair.
Go ahead.
About the unions joining us. I personally thought the unions are in favor of this, and I just don't quite understand Trustee Buckland's comment.
I can't answer that question.
Well, I could. Yes, we've seen programs left in limbo when the teachers were moved out of the school as a result of seniority. And there was no one capable of replacing the program that was there and that was being developed.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And I certainly agree that we all have to work together on everything that we're trying to accomplish with our students. And any other comments around the table? Just one quick, the new O Canada DVD is being delivered tomorrow, I believe. Terry, you say that you will have it, and we'll be playing it in December's meeting. We correct?
It'll be ready for the December meeting.
Chair Petersma, are you pleased about that? Just want to make sure he's listening.
Yes, I am. Very pleased.
We put a smile on your face. That's great.
That's just awesome.
Ewan, thank you so much for the presentation. We look forward to see how this is going to unfold. Thank you. Okay, I need a motion to move back into the regular board meeting, November 27th, 2013. Moved by Trustee Karkner, seconded by Trustee McAllister, and we'll cast our votes.
In favor, Art.
Thank you, Art.
So am I. I keep losing my.
Okay, everyone's in favor. Trustee McPherson, not taking. Okay, thank you. We had a report from the private session, November 13th, 2013. There were 2 personal items were discussed. No recommendations were brought forward to the board. Report from the public session, November 13th, 2013. There were no recommendations brought forward. At this point, we'll have a report of the Special Education Advisory Committee. I believe Trustee McAllister, are you doing that?
Yes, Chair. The report speaks for itself. Unfortunately, I didn't. I was asleep at the switch last month, and I didn't really get my report completed in writing, at least. So, Superintendent Edwards here has touched on some of the high points. We've already been exposed to the news, the good news with regard to the Youth Equity Forum. She referred at the meeting about the Empower Reading program in 17 sites, and the resiliency training program at the North Grenville and South Grenville families of schools with Dr. Wayne Hammond. I thought that was excellent. Perhaps I'm going to ask Superintendent Edwards to address the new joint transition protocols, because I don't feel confident to speak to that at the moment. But I just want to also recognize that during Anti-Bullying Week several weeks ago, almost all our schools, I believe, had some shape, form of activity to raise awareness, and I think that was excellent. So perhaps Superintendent Edwards I could ask her if she would like to comment further.
Are you there, Superintendent Edwards?
Yes, thank you, Trustee McMillan, and thank you, Trustee McAllister. Yes, with regards to the transition protocol, PPM 156 was in place for developing transition protocols with 3 ministry collaborative process. With the Ministry of Community and Social Services, Ministry of Education, and the Ministry of Community and Youth Services. So 3 ministries combined to create the transition protocols. Our board, we were very much involved in terms of part of the collaboration. It's not a great difference from what we have been doing, but the protocols do speak to transitions to school for all students, from school, and for transitions throughout classes. So there will be more presentations, greater presentations to SEAC in the new year as we bring this protocol into action. But we had a tremendous day on November the 20th where we had probably about 50 representatives from our agencies across the district that work with some of our most fragile students in our board in various capacities come together along with all of our learning resource teachers and our learning resource coaches and our student engagement team to take a look at the transition protocol and take a look at working together and addressing together some approaches for transitions. So that was the very first introduction and working together from all of those groups together on the new protocol. So it's an exciting time for some of our most vulnerable students as we work harder and together with resources in all parts of our communities.
Thank you. Trustee McAllister.
One final note, Chair. This board passed a resolution last month upon the recommendation of the Special Education Advisory Committee to recognize the International Day for Disabled People. And I just note that the Communications Department has acted on that recommendation immediately, and I believe for December the 3rd, which is the International Day for Disabilities, a video will be available, and it will, I understand, be celebrating the abilities of disabled people, as well as sharing some of their stories and their successes. So I look forward to seeing that, and I thank the Communications Department for acting on that so quickly.
Thank you, Trustee McAllister. Any comments or questions? Thank you. Moving ahead, report the Ontario Public School Boards Association. Chair David McDonald.
Just really quickly, not a lot to report on. The Board of Directors meeting is this Friday and Saturday. I'll be attending that in Toronto. Just give you an update on Bill 122. It's gone through its second reading and moving through somewhat slowly still. It's been about 6 days moving through, I think. So I'll give you some more updates on any information I have on that at our next meeting. As well, the Public Education Symposium is the end of January in Toronto. There'll be a number of items discussed during that, and I'm trying to find my... So this pre-symposium starts on the Thursday, actually, with some of the topics being audits and ARCs, governance for student achievement, First Nation, Métis, and Inuit education and labor relations. The main symposium is on the Friday and Saturday primarily, with a keynote speaker, I believe, on the Thursday evening. So the Minister of Education and both education critics have been invited. There'll be sessions on helping you get ready for the municipal elections, which is next year around this time, and caucus sessions for urban boards, rural boards, and urban rural boards, which will be part of that regional meeting program. So I'll give you an update at the next Board of Directors, or at our next meeting as a result of the Board of Directors this past weekend.
Thank you. Anyone want to comment or have questions about this? Trustee Carton?
Through you, Chair, to Trustee McDonald, our program committee met last week, and we had quite a full day with a lot of the requests that are coming from the government for responses to a lot of the papers that they're bringing out. So we spoke about many of them, so we're hoping that many of those will get to the directors this coming weekend for approval, because timelines are getting rather tight to submit those, and I believe policy also had a discussion at one point on some of these documents.
Just to follow up, that certainly that was an item that we discussed at a regional meeting in October. It kind of raises the question as to how much weight is being placed on the information they're receiving as a result of the consultations when everything comes out at the same time. In any event, OPSPA's attempted and will continue to respond to them. I mean, I think having a response is better than having no response. A lot of the information, though, is found within our priorities, so we're able to pull from our priorities and speak to that quite soundly. So certainly we'll provide some updates to you on that as the weekend progresses, if there's any fallout as a result of that as well.
Through you, Chair?
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
As a result of Trustee McDonald bringing up the upcoming elections next year, I'm just wondering if our board, and this is probably directed to the director, or I'm not quite sure who, is looking at boundary realignments again for this upcoming election as they did the last time.
Director.
Yes, that's a legal part of the mandate. The director has to, at this particular time of the year, look at the boundaries of all of our trustees to ensure there's an equitable distribution of the size, the amount of work that would be involved. In our particular area, we try to keep it at a magical number of 1, and that's a mathematical formula that both Phil and I work on with the local planners in each of the 27 municipalities that we work with, and then after that we bring a recommendation to the board.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Well, I'd like to know, are we going to be presented with some realignments for January?
It's by February, I believe, isn't it?
Pardon me?
It's by February, I believe, that we have to respond.
Yes, it is. It's by approximately February, if there's an imbalance in what is perceived as imbalance in what the trustees have, there would be a recommendation to come to the board at that time in about February.
Okay, Trustee Swan? Thank you. Okay, no more questions, comments. We're moving on to the youth of the table. And asked our student trustee to give us a report from. So report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just start by noting that our next Senate meeting will be December 6th. That's next Friday. We'll have a guest speaker from Harvest House, which is a rehabilitation center located just outside of Ottawa. I saw this presentation last year, and one of the students actually is a former Seaway District High School student. So it's a very relevant speaker to our students. I've noticed that connecting with the senators has proven a little bit difficult lately, but I'm hoping after the next meeting, a reminder to use their UCDSB emails will help with that. And also through Facebook and Twitter. There's a new UCDSB Senate Twitter account, which is at UCDSB Senate. Once I've got all the senators connected to that and informed of it, I will be emailing that out to all the trustees to follow if you'd like. And also after the December 6th meeting, we plan on attempting some meetings for the families of schools using a link, Microsoft link. So hopefully after reminding them of using their emails, we can connect and do that. And finally, all trustees are also invited to the December 6th meeting. It starts at 10 o'clock at North Grenville Municipal Center. And it's a very dynamic and energetic group, and recommend anyone come out if you can. That's everything.
Thank you. Questions, comments? I do encourage any trustees, if they get a chance, I know it's in the middle of the day and it's not always easy, but it's certainly a worthwhile experience to spend that amount of time with some fantastic kids. So. Okay. The second last word of the night goes to the director.
I just think it's been a couple of good meetings in a row, and I would just encourage everyone to drive safely home, and like to thank the chair who's down in Toronto for encouraging us to get out on the roads and make it tough. It was nice to see the technology served us, and we hope to have the system fixed so all those people at home can see it again. I know that my mother down there in Western Ontario will miss this tonight.
All right, thank you. So I just, my comment really is this has been a great meeting. I'm very impressed with the report from Chris Hawthorne. I'm really impressed with the level of our questions and comments and how we focused on the accountability framework and the critical success factors. And I think the level of discussion was just amazing on all areas. We do miss you, Greg. Wouldn't be a good meeting if we didn't say that, right?
Thanks, Jeff. Great job.
Anyways, I need a motion to adjourn. I usually do this, so I need someone else.
That'll be me. I'll move it.
I'll take the chair.
All right, Chair Peters, seconded by Trustee Karkner. Thank you very much, guys. Safe drive home, and thanks to all of you on the telephone lines.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Good night. Good drive. Bye.